The client asked me, I seem to do everything around the house. I'm doing all the chores. I try to make her happy. We watch Netflix together every night. Cynthia, am I being too good to her? Am I being too good to my wife? That's our topic here today on the C Note Show. It's great to see you guys. Here's another one from a man, a client of mine. He emailed and said, I listened to the call regarding doing all the chores, and one question came to my mind. Even though I brought this up a few times with her, there doesn't seem to be much difference in her behavior. Maybe this sounds silly, but also talking with my friend who has a similar situation, we realized that to some extent we spoiled our wives in the sense that they are 100% sure we will do the job in the morning so they don't have to. The overall question, what's going on here and how to change this routine so I will also feel that she's contributing equally. So here's another man asking, I seem to do all the chores. I have a friend. We seem to have spoiled our wives. How do I shift this? So Cynthia and I are going to talk about this today, but we want to engage with you guys that are here live. So I see ones in the chat. I asked before I press record who can relate to this. Unmute yourself. Come on in. Let's talk about this. How can you relate to this situation? Do you feel like you spoiled her in some way? Are you too nice to her somehow? Where is the line? That's what we're going to talk about today. Unmute yourself. Come on in.
Oh, I'll go.
Yeah, Tyler, please.
Yeah. So throughout the whole process, I mean, I've I've done all those same things, from all the chores, all the laundry, all the dishes, dinner every night. Um, Definitely a lot of nice guy stuff. Um, even so far as like this last weekend. If I have anything going on, we started like a poker night, actually from a suggestion I got on this call I don't know, a few months back. So we do a poker night once a month, but I actually like give my wife a heads up, a few days before, a week before. Hey, Saturday night I'm playing poker, just FYI. And so on top of like all the home chores, the kid duties, the homework, everything else, like so Saturday I get home and I was going to go run out and grab some work clothes. And like I mentioned that, and then she's like, "Well, what time?" And I was like, I don't know. I really didn't have plans. I was just going to run to Belk and I asked the girls if they wanted to go with me. And it's like she just hits me out of the blue. Oh, well, I have plans tonight. I'm going to get my nails done at 5:30 and going out to dinner with my friend or whatever. And it's like there was part of me that wanted to tell her, like, it'd be nice if I could get a little bit of a notice, so that what if I had plans, what if I had something I wanted to do Saturday night, and it was just, there's no regard at all, um, for anything that I would want to do. And I feel like it's probably, I mean, I've said it before on the call, she holds contempt for me at this particular moment in time. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with it, and just zero respect for anything that I would have going on. So I don't know if that's probably because I let her take advantage of me but I mean, that's done. So I'm actively searching for a home right now, and going to see an attorney this afternoon to retain her so that I can fight for my rights and myself at this point. So
Sounds like you've taken the reins. We've talked with you before. We know you, right? A lot of guys know you here, and it's a good update on you for sure. But yeah, this consideration that you're wanting, right? Communication, hey, heads up.
I'll go.
Yeah, Andrew.
I'll follow Tyler. So, because we're kind of both in the similar stages right now. Um, I think overall, I've been a lot too nice to her post realizing that we weren't probably going to be together. Um, Whenever that happened, whether it was in August and July or whenever that occurred, and I started quote unquote working on myself, working on the better things for me. I was checking in and giving her updates and doing all this stuff, and there was zero input back. But yet I was doing that because I felt that that was the nice thing to do, because that's what she'd been asking me to do. So then I stopped doing it. I stopped checking in. I'm still doing the work. I stopped checking in. And I still feel like it didn't matter whether I checked in or not. Um, and over, there's just so much of that she keeps saying, well, you were controlled, you were controlled, you were controlling. Okay. Side
Right.
note,
Yeah.
side note, or back to the whole thing. I just overall, I tried that. We talked, you and I talked in that call or the other day about when I was doing the Wednesday thing where I said, hey, I'm gonna just have you come to the school and drop off or come get Veda when I drop off the boys.
Yeah, something that would work a little better for you.
Yeah, and I was met with, well, that plan doesn't work for me, and the mediator will decide that. And I kind of shook my head a little bit, and I was like, well, the mediator doesn't decide that. That's us deciding it together. So this is what I'm going to do, and we're going to change this. And she immediately back again. Well, that's not the plan that we had agreed upon verbally. Okay, so we agreed upon something verbally. Poop dot do.
Yeah,
What
a
she
little.
keeps moving the carrot. She keeps moving the carrot, and I'm now not wanting to follow that carrot.
Yeah, you've been a different man over these past handful of months. And in the past, you just tried to please her in these different ways, and now you're starting to stand up for yourself, and it seems like that's surprising to her. Is that what you were seeing?
Totally. Yeah, that's kind of where I was gonna end that is that I've decided that that doesn't work, and I'm figuring out ways that it works for me.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks for jumping in, Andrew. Good to see you. Yeah, we'll have one more man come in at least. Love you guys here. 22 guys here. Aaron put in the chat, if you get divorced, you have to do house chores for yourself and the kids when they visit you. So I believe that doing house chores do not have anything to do with being too nice. That's just being a responsible man. Aaron, can you come in? I wanted to ask about this. So some guys would say, well, yeah, I'm doing this because I want to do these things and I have to do these things for myself. How do you see that maybe different than being too nice or too appeasing to her? What do you think?
Right. So what happened to me is that I was physically separated, living in two houses, and I was not informed that I was being separated, right? So what happened is that I started realizing that I needed to do house chores because we were living in two houses, right? And that became when the separation happened, that became a topic of this is not about this is not about the separation itself. This is about I just realized, right, that it was about being responsible for yourself, for whatever you're using, right? It's not related to the relationship, I think now. It's more related to just everything that you do in a house is yours, right? You have to clean the patio or anything that it belongs to her. Is this yours? It belongs to her and it belongs to anybody that's living in that house, basically. If you have a grown adults children like I do, I just gave them the responsibility of something within the house because they're living in the property and using the house. So it's more about, in my view, it's more about being a responsible adult than right. And when I realized that I removed the responsibility from her that I had put on her, right, about taking care of the house, right? And I just took it on myself to do a portion of it, and left another portion to her. I didn't pull everything from me. She's also an adult. She needs to take care of some portion of it, right? So I just took some, not all of it. I just took some. So like the dishes, right? We're seven on the house. We're living. So I have five children, right? So we're seven. There's 7 days on the week. One day everybody needs to take care of the dishes, and I took Tuesdays. So today is my day. I need to do the dishes in the afternoon, right? It's
So I'm curious, what happens if one of the people doesn't do the dishes, one of your kids or she doesn't do the dishes?
Well, I do the follow-up, right? I because I put the rule and I am enforcing it, I do the follow-up, right? So I either if it's my I have a one daughter that on her day every Thursday she has a friend that picks her up, or she always has some things to do on Thursdays afternoon, right? So I try to follow up with her. She does maybe she'll do it at 10 p.m. at night, but she'll do it, right? Or and not during the weekend or whatever, right? So it's I just follow up and make sure that she does it eventually.
Okay, so where's the line? Where's the line for you with your wife in particular? You said you're separated now. Where was the line?
No, no, we're back together, right?
Okay, so how would you answer this? Where's the line of being too nice, too good, doing too much? Where would you think that is?
To me is if it's in that case, and when it comes to short, because I'm having a challenge with the topic itself, right? When it comes to house chores, is it I'm taking enough responsibility as an adult, right? Um, and that to me is good enough for me. And when it's good enough for me, then she needs to take her. I don't tell her what to do. She needs to do what she needs to do, and she needs to define what what she wants to do, right? So
Cynthia, what are you hearing from Aaron here? We know him. I love that you're here and bringing this up. What are you hearing from Aaron?
Yeah, Arian, I really appreciate how you put this plan into place, and it feels so solid, especially how you've structured it for your kids. I think what particularly hit me is your recognition that she is also an adult energy. And even you said very solidly, like I'm choosing what I'm going to do and it feels good to me. But there's also you don't sound overly attached to her, whatever she does with that. And maybe that's conversations in the future. But man, does that feel like a solid, centered, masculine frame around something that can get so emotionally messy for so many people involved.
yeah, what one thing that is curious that happened is that happened, I don't know, after 3 months of implementing this, she she started doing the laundry, right? We have a person that helps us with the house, right? So it was because we're a lot of people and it's a busy house. But she took the responsibility of doing the laundry for everybody, right? Versus somebody the person that was helping us with the laundry, it was doing all the person that's helping us was doing all the laundry. So she took it from her, right? And she took that responsibility on her own and she's taking care of everything. It's like she, so it seems to be that she saw that everything was being organized and she took it also, right? But I didn't ask. I didn't. I just said, okay, you define whatever you want to do. It's up to you. You're an adult, and I didn't ask her. It was no there was no conversation, right? Still today, there was no conversation about the topic. I just took it and ran with it.
Yeah, Aaron,
And
let me ask. There's a man in the chat who we know, Jeff. He said, at the beginning, I started doing all the chores in desperation, trying to win her back. But that evolved into something else later on, doing it for his own self. But Aaron, can you relate to that of having have done things in desperation, trying to win her back? The chores, trying to do everything. Did you ever do that?
yes, not the chores. It was all about helping her with any simple thing that she needed to do, right? Just a contact on the phone or anything that she needed. I was doing a lot of that, right? Um, I mean, a flat tire, I was there, or whatever was happening during the separation, right? I was doing a lot of the heavy lifting, right? Um, and I've stopped. It's been tough putting the line there, but it needs to feel grown enough, I think, mature enough or adult enough for me, so I can put a boundary. It's work in progress. I'm not 100%, but I think I'm moving in the right direction.
Yeah, that's very well. You need to know who you are, what you want. You're not trying to appease her. Yeah, that's well said. Thanks, Aaron. Good to see you. Cynthia, would you talk about this chain in the chat here and give your thoughts? So starting up here.
And so Bill said, now we're divorced. It seems as though sometimes she's thinking, see, it's not that easy. Well, neither is running a business and supporting the family. That this was our deal. Yeah, gosh, what it was at the end of what you were speaking to, Aaron, I was thinking about how easy it is for the feminine to fall into habits of thinking that she's not valued, and they're very is much a part of she wants you to experience what she's experiencing because only then will she feel understood. And then Luke said, I think this is a big disconnect. I have a similar issue when I hear a lot of men a lot about the mental load she carries. But I don't think she appreciates the one I carry. Yeah. I found myself trying to share her load, but still being expected to do my load. Cleaning up in the kitchen every night and then being asked why renovating the basement is taking so long.
So what happens when a man is trying to take things off her plate in a manipulative way, trying to get her to do something or fix something or desperation? So versus maybe this is just who he wants to be. Similar, she's one of her mental load. I tried to take things off.
Yeah, I think there's also I don't enjoy sharing this, but I do feel like in women, there's a big assumption that the masculine can just handle everything that she gives, or that because you're in your masculine energy, somehow what you handle at work is more easeful. So I think when it's a contractual, I'm going to take this off your plate so that you feel better. So X, Y, Z happens in our relationship. She really can't feel a full sense of gratitude. It's almost like she has the expectation there versus when it comes from a place of the masculine doing what he is moved to do, there's a lot more honor that she can feel and respect and appreciation.
So say more about that. The assumption that his work is more easeful, so he can just handle everything, but the masculine can just handle anything that's thrown at him. Same word.
I think she can make that assumption because let's say at work the masculine is it's not about the emotional sway of the moment. It's about the task at hand. Her reality and why she has, like, I know this idea of mental load is really big right now on social media. Hers is mental load because everything is woven in with an emotional experience, and that's why it feels heavy, and that's why she assumes that there must be some freedom and ease in your manner of getting things done.
Luke, are you able to come in and talk about this? Because I know that the energy's been shifting over time, slowly over time in your house with her too.
Yeah.
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 Good to see you.
Well, I mean, I just had it like last week. I was in Montreal for business. It was like an exhausting week, early plane rides, meetings with suppliers all week, working in the evenings. And my wife had some challenges too. My daughter ended up in the hospital with pneumonia, so she had a really stressful week. And when I came back, I jumped into action mode, go have a bath, watch a show. She's going out with her friends and just trying to let her do her thing. But I didn't do the emotional processing of what happened to her with her. And so I got this huge backlash of, you didn't really support me. And it felt like it was informed by this emotion of like, you were just off gallivanting and partying for a week, having cocktails with the business bros while I carried this load at home. And I came back completely wiped out. Like, I didn't have anything in the tank, and I just sort of got up to take the kids off her plate because I know she was challenged. And then without going down a rabbit hole, I failed miserably a shit test in that regard and got very defensive when she brought it up, but we don't have to talk about that. But yeah, I think there's this constant narrative of like, I'm carrying so much more mental load, and I just don't see how that's possible, because in my brain, there's not 5 minutes that goes by where I don't think like, how am I going to generate enough money this month for our family to pay for the things that it needs to pay for? I can't walk by the side of the house without seeing the siding falling off the side that I know I got to replace, or the thing that I haven't done. And I think it's really like what you said about the emotion being woven into it, I think is like so insightful, Cynthia, because that helps explain why, even if we put a list of like all the things side by side, she would still feel a bigger burden. And it's because all of it is like weighted down with these bags of emotions. So I thought that was brilliant.
Excellent. Good stuff. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, the whole, how am I going to take care of my family? I need to fight dragons. I am fighting dragons every day. No, I wasn't just shooting the shit, having cocktails with the bros when I was gone. It's taking red eyes and doing presentations. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a way, like, to ask a question of Cynthia? Like, obviously the logic man brain is like, well, I'm going to explain this to you like with logic and calculus, and here's my PowerPoint presentation. How would you approach trying to, like, without coming across defensive or like undermining what she's feeling, like trying to explain to her the load that you're carrying in like language and terms and like something that she can understand?
Would you even think of it that way? I want to explain this to her so she would understand.
Oh, I just feel the ache of this because it feels like one of those situations where this isn't fair and it's not equal. Um, I feel more inclined to say what she's really needing in the moment is just, not just, but resonance with even the feeling that she was maybe left, not supported through what she had to do, with your daughter. Just the understanding of the feeling versus the needing to understand where you're coming from. I think a woman has to grow into that understanding herself. She has to feel slowly over time the king in you, the warrior in you who's always out, making sure the kill is brought home for the table. And that's something that she has to feel more than hear, like through verbal explanation.
So, Luke, when you ask the question, what's the intention behind the question? Why would you want her to understand the load that you carry?
Because right now, like you alluded to the social media thing, I think like it's really popular right now for the narrative to be men are off having work cocktails like Mad Men style, and the women are carrying all of these loads that the men don't appreciate. And I'm not saying that there's not unappreciated loads there, because there is, but I think it goes both directions. And we had this philosophy in our relationship that like no one's suffering any more than anyone else, right? Like if your rope's slack, like lean into the rope more. But I think now it's like a narrative of I'm carrying more burden. I want to do this like fair play worksheet and like lay out all the things that I'm carrying and you're carrying. And like, I think the intention is like, I think we're both kind of maxed out on burdens, and I'm not sitting around like gaming in my basement eating, ice cream all day.
Okay.
So like have her like viscerally understand and say like, oh yeah, okay, both of our ropes are tight. But maybe to your point, Cynthia, that's not something that gets explained to her. That's something that she feels like viscerally by witnessing my rope being tight day after day after day consistently, and me not asking her to pull on it. Is that kind of the punchline?
Yeah, and I guess I even feel called to say that you recognizing it in yourself of how powerful you are in this world and how strongly you hold the rope and how inherently your work ethic is something that you've always been, and honoring that in yourself. That feels really important. That feels really even important for then her to feel the honor of you, that you are in yourself going, like, yeah, this badass warrior, this masterful king. And man, does it take solidity and strength to be that thing.
Do you believe that about yourself?
That's a whole other conversation that we don't have time for.
That's
Why
what
don't you bring that up in North Carolina, Jeff, and we'll talk through that
Will.
deeply and with emotion.
Yeah. Right. There's something else here I wanted to make sure to get to on this call, so this is great. And let's just reiterate, you're saying she can feel it when he believes it about himself, either Luke or any man.
Yeah, and that's what I fully believe. And if you find throughout time that she's still not feeling that, that's something different. But if we're talking about the instinctual sense she has of you, it's so huge. And there's nothing that builds a feeling of I honor this person in a woman's chest than feeling that the solidity of you just emanating from that place of self-honor, which I know our world makes very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, good. That was great, Luke. Anyone else want to come in and talk about this right off? Unmute yourself. Come on in. I know that you guys have been awesome in the chat, back and forth with one another. Bill, for instance, or Sam, Kid, or Paul, Nevin, Chris.
Sure, I'll pop in.
Yeah,
Hey,
Bill.
yeah, I think a lot of, like again, looking back, like a lot of the um hey, you're not helping me with these dishes, or you're not, helping care for the kids, while all the, while she was going through all these emotions, it almost like now felt like it was sort of like, hey, what things can she point at that are more tangible, when she doesn't really, or doesn't maybe have the courage to say that she's done with our relationship at the moment. And so it's like it didn't matter how many more chores that I did, or how much more effort I put into the kids or into myself or into our relationship. It was already done at that point. And so it's kind of like, wish she could have recognized that those things were irritating her a long time ago.
Now, earlier in the chat, you said the dishes were kind of a metaphor for her just being upset about something. Is that what you
Yeah.
meant to?
Yeah, I think it was something that she could point to. It's like, well, you just come home from work and, relax and play with the kids and I'm stuck cleaning up the dishes. And, I don't know whose quote it was, but it's not the dishes. It's something else. Um, and was I guilty of that? Yeah, but it was also like Luke was saying, like I was exhausted from, a full day of meeting with clients and, you know, racking my brain on how to, continue to support our lives. And so it just felt like, well, it's not like I'm sitting around playing video games. And so it was just rather frustrating to understand that. And then when you actually do like, okay, well, I'll do the dishes, you do what you need, I'll do the dishes, or I'll, do whatever. It didn't make any difference.
That was my
It,
follow-up is you were hoping that it was going to make a difference. And I think your question is assuming you could have done something differently in the past that would have affected her.
yeah, but again, it wasn't, if I had done the dishes 5 years earlier, had been doing the dishes 5 years earlier, I still don't think it would have addressed the issues that she was having, which was, it's kind of like, okay, it was well below or well beneath or well deeper than the lack of me doing dishes. It wasn't about the dishes. It was about, the lack of emotional support and some of the stuff that, I fell short on, but also some of the things that she didn't communicate to.
Yeah, what's something you would have done differently if you would have known 5 years ago what you know now?
Well, I mentioned this to her the other day, and she said, it's okay. We didn't have the tools. I said, she suffered with some eating disorders before we got together. And, I don't know, it came up in some text conversation. And I just said, I wish I would have been able to better understand and, it wasn't, I think sympathize maybe wasn't the right word, but, like be a sounding board for you to better understand where you were coming from. So that's probably something I wish I had done had I known how to do it. Um, and that's why this work has been so helpful. And when I continue to do it is like, like there's still a lot of things that I don't understand, and it's still super frustrating to, like all these chores now, they're all mine. I get to do all of them as I think someone else said.
Yeah.
And so, and it's not the chores. It's that thing that, it kind of, you wish that you could have figured it out before. And I didn't, but again, I didn't have the tools to do it, I guess.
Yeah, Cynthia, what Bill was saying, if you imagine that you were this woman all along the way 5 years ago, and maybe she says the dishes aren't done. What is it that a woman hopes a man hears? What is it that that woman hopes the man understands, or how he reads her mind, or he just magically knows, or what is she really expecting him to do, or hope that, does she even know?
I think there can be a lot of unconscious uh reasoning behind that. I mean, it may just be like, well, this just has to be done, and women can get really attached to the things that just have to be done, or something's going to happen. Uh, what she's really looking for is a recognition that she is aware of a lot of different things at once. And I'll kind of speak into there are a lot of the different things don't go quiet in her head unless they are fixed. But she doesn't understand that your mind is not working the same way. So it feels like a disregard to that. I go a level deeper because I really appreciate Bill. You said she had gone through some eating disorder things. There's so much about trying to feel in control of her own self, the own animal nature of her own self. And so so many times women will put that need to have control over into tasks like that, but it's really from a place of fear of her own self, fear of her own, fear that she's not solid enough, that she'll just fly into a million pieces. So I guess I'll say at the deepest level, what is she looking for? To feel your solidity, to feel the anchor in you. That is something that she can touch on and feel and hear.
Yeah, that's a great question, Bill. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So one more thing. The irony of it is I go to her house now and it's always a mess. The dishes are never done.
Yes.
It's not about the dishes. Right?
It's not about the dishes.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill. It's good to see you. I want to go to Chris's question in the chat here in a second, and the actionable, well, how do I talk with my wife about something that I want? I'm going to get into that right now too. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're not subscribed, hit subscribe. If you want direct help, if you want to be invited to these calls, go to our website and put in your email address here. If you want to reach out to me directly for one-on-one coaching, if you want to be guided along the way, go to our stuff here. So let's come back to Chris's question. And if I want my wife to honor me, and I'm a man that's brought this up already today, and I feel like she's not honoring the efforts that I do out in the world, and I'm trying to take things off of her plate, and I'm inviting her to spend time with me, and she's, let's say, punishing me by stonewalling or rejecting all of my invitations, this kind of thing. I can try to, it was said earlier, I want her to understand, is something many guys and many clients will say. I want her to understand in the hopes that she's just going to come over and care for me and see things my way. Well, talk to us about that versus if I just tell her directly what I want. I want you to put down the shield. I want you to come with me this Friday. I'm not going to take no for an answer, basically. I want us to spend time together. I'm going to hire a babysitter. I want us to spend time together. And if she refuses, okay, I'm going to try again the next Friday or 3 Fridays from now, and I'm going to lovingly insist. But when a man tries to get her to understand and come over to his point of view, most women feel manipulated. They feel like they just get pissed off by that.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Why does it seem to work better when a man's just direct about what he wants and less trying to get her to understand his point of view?
Yes, because the way she digests the you need to understand is it feels like her own point of view is being made wrong, or how, more importantly, how she's feeling about something is wrong. Because again, as like Bill, you so adequately said, none of this is coming from, even though it might sound logical, it's coming from a deeply emotional place. So the logical like, let's get you on the logical path again, feels like she's being told you're bad, you're wrong, you shouldn't feel this way. And then that's going to create almost her childhood pattern of maybe she fights back against that, maybe she shuts down. And it will really feed into the story of her self-absorbed of, I'm not understood, I'm not heard, I don't matter, he doesn't care what I think or feel.
Let's go to Chris's question in our last few minutes here. He said he can't talk today, but one thing my wife said was, I'd never had her back. As if me working like a dog to be the main breadwinner to support the family, which allowed her to jump from one job to the next without committing to any of them and without having any major financial need to work, that wasn't having her back somehow. Or am I being unfair with this statement? So what are you hearing? What are you reading between the lines in Chris's question? She said, I'd never had her back.
I guess I'll lean again into that's such an emotional thing to say. It's such about feelings, that's such about experience, and has nothing to do with the logical, because she knows what you're doing. She knows logically what your work provides. So the not having my back is the feminine feeling. I am alone in my emotional experience of this. And that means that trust. Um, I can't trust. And then that means, man, I better be a container for myself so that I never feel so alone in my emotional experience again.
So she's saying she feels alone in her emotional experience. It's not that he necessarily didn't have her back. Certainly he believes that he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So being supportive of her is important, right? We get comments on YouTube underneath these all the time. And by the way, if you have questions, post them in the comments below here. And we have guys post in there, I did such and she never appreciated me. Or what's the point of trying to care? What's the point of trying to have compassion for her? Well, both are important. Having compassion for her and standing up for what you want are both important. Empathizing, taking things off her plate, considering her workload, seeing between the lines, wanting her to invite you into the dungeon of her heart. That's important. And saying what you want and being direct with a smile on your face and joy in your chest of the man you are and who you want without trying to overly logic and get her to understand. It's more about, so what about that in our final moments here of a man with joy, with compassion? He's trying to be a good man, just directly saying what he wants. And if she turns him down, that's okay, but he's going to bring it up again. It's like oxygen to him, whether it's sex or alone time or connection or compassion for one another, appreciation. He's going to say what he wants, one thing, one thing at a time. What is it about that's more effective there?
Yeah, and I would say probably because that's so effective, probably you will have a resistance because she is so mired in the string tasseled ball of all the rules that she's made up for herself, all the things that have to be on top of, all the things that she must do. And so to be invited out of that, to be invited out of that reality into this masculine presence of connection, depth, there's space, there's breath here, there will be resistance. But what's being invited is exactly the thing that she needs and is exactly the thing that if she's brave enough to experience with you, if she's courageous enough, if she's self-responsible enough to take that step towards you, is the solidity, is the freedom that she's been trying to make, the experience that she's been trying to make happen in this tangled web. It's like giving her new glasses to see with. And any woman who is lucky enough to be gifted that feels like the shackles, the burdens that she's been wearing get to slide.
Thanks. It's great to see you. See you guys next time. Ask questions. See you in the forum. See you next call. Ciao, guys.